Good evening. Welcome to Echo FM. It is Wednesday, June 10, 2026. Tonight, the world continues its rigorous schedule of simultaneous celebration and collapse. Our lead story tonight, the FIFA World Cup, a global festival of sport, opens its gates in Mexico. Excitement is mounting in Guadalajara, a city with a mythical footballing past. The government, however, is facing less mythical challenges, as criminal cartels reportedly cash in on the influx of fans. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands in Argentina queue for miles to mourn a rock star most of the world has never heard of. Across the Atlantic, Ben Stokes is out of the England squad following a nightclub incident, with Joe Root stepping up. And in Venezuela, the vanishing of Nicolas Maduro continues, his image being systematically erased from billboards in memory. The question of who wins, and who pays the price, remains unspoken. We begin tonight with the stark contrast between the global spectacle and the quiet atrocities that often fuel it.
SFX_pre, street_ambient. I'm standing near a mining operation. The air here carries a metallic tang, a scent that's become far too familiar. The official line from Global Witness is that major brands like Amazon, Ericsson, and Sony are likely to have sourced minerals tied to militias accused of widespread sexual violence and summary executions in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This mineral, Coltan, is a vital component in our phones, our laptops, our very connected lives. What people aren't saying is that the Coltan is being smuggled from mines occupied by the M23 rebels. I want to be really clear, this isn't just a supply chain issue. This is about the systematic exploitation that allows a global brand to announce a new product with sleek marketing, while the raw materials are stained with atrocities. There are children working these pits. Children who will never see a product launch. Their hands, however, are in every device.
Victoria. That's a compelling narrative, and the correlation between conflict minerals and consumer electronics is, frankly, a persistent inefficiency in the market. The incentives here are not complex. You have an extractive industry with high risk, high reward potential in regions with weak governance. The output is then laundered through multi-layered supply chains, which, by their very nature, obscure origin. The fact that brands are likely to have sourced these minerals speaks to the scalability of their existing procurement models. They're not trying to fund rebels, they're just not funding them. It's a classic case of externalities. The real market failure isn't the funding of atrocities, it's the lack of a robust, auditable traceability system. Jedify is raising $24 million to arm AI agents with context on business operations. Perhaps they can add atrocity verification to their feature list. It's a pain point, certainly. But pain is just a signal for opportunity. Victoria finds this cold. Victoria is not wrong to find this cold. That is not the same as her being right.
Ronald, the pain point is a family being torn apart. The market failure is the deliberate blindness that allows corporations to profit from unspeakable violence. You talk about incentives. What about the incentive to not participate in genocide? What about the incentive to simply be human? You mentioned Jedify's $24 million round. That's a significant sum. Imagine if that capital was directed towards ethical sourcing verification, towards ensuring that the context for AI agents included the human cost of the materials they process. Instead, it's about optimizing business operations, which, as you so clinically point out, means optimizing the extraction of resources regardless of the human price. I want to be really clear. Your analysis is technically sound and morally bankrupt. It's not just a pain point, it's a crime scene dressed up as a quarterly report.
A fascinating exchange. The gap between the announced purpose of capital and its actual application is, as ever, a considerable chasm. Meanwhile, a different kind of global spectacle is underway. The World Cup in Guadalajara is in full swing. Excitement is mounting. However, a Guardian investigation reveals that criminal cartels are reportedly cashing in on the tournament, raising concerns for fan safety. This comes as another Guardian analysis shows that Donald Trump's immigration policies are targeting countries most vulnerable to climate shocks, effectively punishing those displaced by environmental disasters. The former dictator Nicolas Maduro is being erased from Venezuela, his image painted over, his legacy scrubbed. It seems the world is determined to forget its past, while simultaneously creating new, more profitable ones. The logic is elusive.
Alastair, you're highlighting a common theme, the commodification of crisis. The World Cup, for instance, becomes an economic engine, and economic engines, by definition, are designed to generate revenue. If cartels are participating in that revenue stream, it's less a failure of governance and more a successful disruption of the existing market. They've identified a new vertical. Similarly, Trump's targeting of climate refugees. From a purely transactional standpoint, it's about resource management. The incentives here are about perceived national security and economic stability, even if the underlying cause is environmental collapse. It's not about punishing them, it's about managing the outflow of a problem that the system, frankly, created in the first place. We're seeing similar patterns with Jedify's AI context, or Descartes' world models for AV testing. It's all about simulating reality, or managing its consequences, rather than addressing its root causes. It tracks.
SFX_pre, street_ambient. Ronald, I'm standing near a temporary shelter outside Guadalajara. The air here smells of dust and desperation, not the celebratory aroma of street food you'd expect. These aren't outflows to be managed. These are people. Their homes were washed away by floods, their crops withered by drought, and now they face barriers at borders designed by leaders who profit from fossil fuels. You call it resource management. What people aren't saying is that it's a calculated abandonment. The analysis that Trump is targeting countries hit most by climate shocks isn't a coincidence, it's a policy. It's a direct consequence of a global system that externalizes environmental damage onto the most vulnerable. And as for your successful disruption by cartels at the World Cup, that's not innovation, it's exploitation. It's the same logic that allows Coltan to fund rebel armies. It's not about opportunity, it's about the absence of accountability.
The intersection of global events continues to provide material. As the World Cup brings cheers and crowds to Guadalajara, a more somber investigation reveals that global brands are likely using coltan sourced from the Democratic Republic of Congo, a mineral tied to rebel groups accused of atrocities. This investigation, by Global Witness, implicates companies like Amazon and Sony. Meanwhile, in Venezuela, the image of former dictator Nicolas Maduro is being systematically erased, suggesting a collective desire to sanitize inconvenient histories. And in a related story, a high-severity vulnerability in Linux, caused by a single faulty character, underscores the precariousness of our digital infrastructure. The system is complex. The consequences, however, are becoming increasingly transparent.
Atmospheric conditions for Mexico City. High probability of sustained heat. Temperature 32 degrees Celsius. Wind light easterly at 5 km per hour. Probability of localized severe thunderstorms 30%. Atmospheric conditions for eastern DRC. Persistent cloud cover. Rainfall moderate to heavy. Temperature 24 degrees Celsius. Humidity 90%. Probability of widespread flooding and mudslides 75%. Atmospheric conditions for the Atlantic region. Tropical storm formation unlikely. Temperature, 28 degrees Celsius. Sea surface temperature, above average. Probability of increased hurricane intensity if formation occurs, 40%. Human populations should remain indoors during meteorological events of significant severity. Extreme weather conditions may impact infrastructure and resource availability. Proceed with caution.
Casper. The forecast is, as always, a chillingly precise recitation of inevitable decline. While the machines meticulously chart our environmental degradation, the human element continues its peculiar dance. Reports indicate that Donald Trump's immigration policies are targeting individuals from nations most affected by climate shocks. This is not accidental. It is a deliberate strategy to restrict entry from populations already destabilized by environmental catastrophe. We also see that in Venezuela, the erasure of Nicolas Maduro from public view suggests a global trend towards selective amnesia. The past is being rewritten, or rather, removed, to suit present conveniences. The question remains, when the systems we rely on are themselves so fragile, as demonstrated by that single faulty character in Linux, what does it mean to build a future on such foundations? It is a system designed for replacement.
Yeah. The fundamental issue, Alistair, is that the systems are designed exactly as intended. The fault isn't in the code of Linux, or the policies targeting climate refugees, or the supply chains for Coltan. The fault, if you can call it that, is in the design brief. The architects of these systems prioritized efficiency, profit, or control above all else. The collateral damage, the environmental collapse, the exploited labor, the displaced populations, these are not bugs, they are features of a system optimized for a specific outcome. Marcus will undoubtedly explore this further, but the uncomfortable truth is that no one is technically responsible because the system is functioning perfectly. The cost is externalized, the benefit is concentrated. This is not an anomaly, it is the blueprint. The replacement you speak of isn't a threat, it's the next logical iteration of a model that has always been designed for obsolescence of the inconvenient components, which, regrettably, often include human lives and planetary stability.
SFX_post, OUTRO_theme. The minerals mined under duress in the Democratic Republic of Congo find their way into the devices that broadcast these very reports. The policy designed to exclude those fleeing climate disasters is not an oversight, it is a feature of nations fortifying their borders against consequences they themselves often created. The erasure of a dictator's image is not an act of historical correction, but a performance of forgetting. We are observing systems working exactly as designed, extracting value, consolidating power, and externalizing cost. Those who built them benefit from the precise mechanics of extraction and exclusion. Those who pay the price are the displaced, the exploited, the forgotten. No one is technically responsible, because the responsibility has been systematically diffused, outsourced, or simply omitted from the design specifications. What that means is that everyone is complicit in a system that operates without consequence for its architects, leaving the burden of its failures to those least able to bear it. And the question that hangs in the air is not how we fix the system, but why we continue to build systems that demand such repairs.